Hello everyone. I hope this works because I've not done it before like this. I'm recording on my phone and using a selfie stick in my little office space, and been trying to record something for the Pagan Pride Anglia event, which hasn't worked due to terrible internet connection. But I still want to post up here because I've been thinking about it so much, and it's very hard to put into words, as I'm sure you appreciate. But the world has gone crazy right now, hasn't it? The world's gone mad. We're in isolation in the UK, as many countries are. We've just walked the dogs sort of down the road and back, and that's about as much as we can do. There's been a lot of people on my social media that I've noticed saying we need more from a pagan perspective on what we can do during these times. And yeah, okay, I agree. The challenge is what exactly? Because as I've said often, paganism is a relatively young faith as we practice it now, and I don't think anyone's got any rules for this sort of thing. I see people all the time posting up edited segments from Samuel Pepys's journals and things like that, saying what happened during the Black Plague in London, and it was pretty much what happens now, in that people are putting up scams for false cures and going out and spreading germs and that sort of thing. But as pagans, what can we do? What is there? And as I've often said, and I do think paganism has to be practical. It has to be a real faith. It has to be lived, and it has to be relevant. So very much in these times we are discovering, as the scientists are discovering day by day, what we can do. I've seen some lovely articles on the internet about what people think the gods are doing right now and how they're supporting everyone, from the workers at the front line to the disabled folks stuck at home as a matter of normalcy, to kids unsure of what's about to happen and parents who've never had to be teachers before. And I'm aware I'm touching my face even doing that. Our perspective has changed. But while we can still see the effect and the relevance of deity around us in everything we do, it's difficult to bring that to bear, I think, when we're sort of looking around and going, but what can I do? What can I do? I'm stuck at home. But to be fair, I'm even in the act of doing this, I'm talking to who knows who. I'm talking to all of you. I have no idea who this is going to reach, but I hope it helps. Because we have technology now which allows us, even while we're stuck at home, to reach out. And I've been sharing as much as I can by way of generous free articles, free rituals, free books. So many creative people are putting useful information out there now. Scientist friends are helping, putting up information about what exactly we know about what this virus is. And basically we are stuck in this situation and learning, and that is, I think, it's unusual, and it must be horrendous for those who like to control everything, especially those bosses who say, oh no, we can't have time off for sick, we can't have time off ill, you've got to come to work anyway. I'm sure you know what I mean. I've had bosses like that. People who can control everything. It doesn't matter whether it's day or night, we will work. It doesn't matter if you're far or near, we will work. And we're being forced to spend time with our families. We're being forced to spend time on our own. And we have this connection with the outer world through the technology. But at the end of the day, we are as beholden to, I would say, the elements, but the natural cycles as much as our ancestors were, probably more than we ever have been, because we can only do so much right now. Not because we're physically unable to, although some of us will. It's because we've been told we can't. And I have no doubt at all that that is tremendously chafing to some people. The other weekend, the news was full of stories about people going to tourist hotspots and mingling and touching each other and breathing on each other and all these things that we're not supposed to do, because, to be fair, we're not. We are all little pockets of germs and we can share them without even knowing about it. But people thought they knew better. And in the world today, that is the control issue, isn't it? We always think we know better. And certain famous individuals have been caught out often saying things as if they're complete empirical fact, when in fact they're just from that person's head. They are literally made up to sound good and to make him or her look good, but they don't have any basis in reality. And because we have all this information, experts can come on and say, no, you're wrong. And then there are childish tantrums. And I've seen evidence of those happening too, as in when people are told they cannot have the stuff they want to buy in shops as they normally would, people are having tantrums like toddlers, being told what they can and can't do. And for the first time in probably, I won't say our lifetimes, because I do remember the teachers' strikes and the blackouts of the late 70s and early 80s. I remember being kept home from school and thinking, this is great. Didn't really understand it, but it's something that sometimes society has to do. Society has to work together. And we've become very blasé about that. We've become very much of the mind that I know best, I know what's best for me. And okay, yeah, up to a point you do. But after that point, we have to remember that even if we're a village, we're a very big village. We're a global village. And we all have to help each other. And especially after the whole Brexit thing over here, a lot of Brexiteers are keeping very quiet now because Europe is very kindly offering help to Little Britain over here. And people don't quite know what to do. And it is the thing of we have to reach out to each other. We have to see this community. And I've worked in interfaith for ages and realised this, and realised that I've said it often, there are more similarities than differences on our faith basis. And I've seen so many wonderful posts from various faith leaders from all the major faiths offering help, offering food, offering shelter. And this isn't something that pagans can do because we don't have that kind of organisation. We're not very organised. But different pagan folks are offering help. They're offering a listening ear to people. They're offering parcels of help, knocking on doors of neighbours. Even it doesn't really matter what your faith is, as long as you are a person who is willing to take a stand and stand up for and within your community, then you're helping. Again, it's knowing how best to do that. Sometimes, as we see from the news, the best thing we can do is nothing, publicly at least. And that hurts too, because we are doing something by staying at home, but it doesn't feel like it, does it? We're sitting at home, people are making jokes about watching Netflix and putting on weight, and it's like, okay, all right, this is probably happening. But folks are trying to enjoy their exercise each day, to do what they can at home, to get on with chores, to learn new skills. And that's great, that's wonderful if you can. I imagine for people who have your normal 9 to 5, it's great. But on the other hand, we have responsibilities, so we still have work to do, we still have families to care for. And it's overwhelming is the word I keep coming back to. It's overwhelming that we are stuck, that we can't just step out of the door and go and see our extended families and give them a hug and make them feel better. We have to do it like this, online, which isn't as good. It isn't. And I think the overwhelm and the trapped and all of those other nasty things, those insidious things, mean that for people like me who have, I still find it weird to say, but who have mental health issues, and even physical disability issues, it's awful, because all of these things which we still had to work for, I don't think we've ever taken for granted, but we still can't do them. I can't go for a nice walk, not too much anyway, not too far. There's always a sense of nervousness of even walking up the road to the woods near me. What might happen? Who knows? You fear the worst. But something else I've come across, which I think is useful, that those who've got a bit of knowledge about other faiths will have heard of, is discernment. And to discern something in a spiritual sense is to listen for the truth. It's to discern what is true versus what is false. So when you have that voice of fear inside and that voice of worry and what I've often called my brain weasels, or however you want to put it, devil on your shoulder from the old cartoons, I don't know. But I've explained to various mental health people that I don't hear voices in that sense. I don't have a demon talking to me, because I swear some of them think that I do. It's like, no, I have the voice of fear, I have the fight or flight voice, I have the depression voice. And it says, you just don't go anywhere, just huddle down and hide, and don't do anything ever again. And I know so many people understand this to a greater or lesser degree. And it's horrible. But it's also important to learn to discern what is not your own voice. It is saying, no, that's not true, is it? Because I would like to go out and even just sit in the garden. I would like to do X. I need to do this. And the challenge right now, for all of us, I think, is to figure out what we can do and what we need to do, minute to minute, hour to hour, to keep ourselves going. I'm looking out over a garden with a cloudy sky, and it's been lovely weather recently. There's the sun. And many people are sad that they can't enjoy it, but they can, because it's there. We have windows. We can step outside. And even if you're confined to sitting at windows and looking out, that's better than nothing. That's better than being confined to bed, which is where people are who are sick. When I was last in our local hospital, there was bars on the windows. And that's made me think as well of my time working in prisons, because this is what they have every day. But worse, they are literally trapped. They have no freedom. They're in a room smaller than most people's bathrooms, and they have to make do. And right now, they're all on 23-hour lockdown. And if that's not stir crazy, I don't know what is. And I worry. I do. But I worry for them, I worry for all of us. And there is no way that these words will reach them. I can't even reach out and talk to them. It's as if they're on another planet because of that security. I have no way of reaching folks in hospital because we can't. But while we're still out here, we're not trapped. We have the freedom to communicate. We have the freedom to reach out like this. And we have to see what will keep us going and what will keep us fueled to get through this, because we don't know how long it'll be either. So use that discernment, I think. Say, I need to stay in bed a little. Okay, stay in bed for, say, an hour, and then get up and see what you can do. these are old mental health advice tricks, but it's things like have a wash. People say have a shower. I don't have a working shower. I have a bath, and it takes a good half hour to run. So having a bath is a bit of an event, and it's great when you do, of course, but having a quick shower is not an option, and I know that's true for many. So even running warm water over your hands, we've been told to wash our hands often. Find a lovely scented soap, something that stimulates your nose and feels good on your hands. Nice hand cream. It's better than the hand gels that are out there, which are very, very acidic, I think. Find what engages your brain. What your brain, as in you and not the brain weasels, wants to do. So that could be watching a cheesy movie or reading a gratuitous book. And when I say gratuitous, I mean something that is not work and is not clever, but it's just fun, that you really enjoy, because that's fine. I freely have admitted in the past that when I used to get bad migraines, I still needed to distract my brain, and this was before internet, and I would read Jilly Cooper novels because they're awful. They're really bad, but they're written so easily and they're so silly that you can't help but smile, because it's like watching a really cheesy soap opera. You know it's daft, but that's what makes it fun. It's very, very silly. And I'm seeing a lot of that sort of thing on YouTube as well. There's many creators out there putting silly distraction stuff up. There's movie critics trying to review anything else because there aren't movies at the cinema right now. I've seen people reviewing comic books and magazines and their own wardrobes and that sort of thing. And you think, okay, it's still communication, it's still reaching out, and it's going around the world to people who need to hear it at the time they need to hear it. Because, again, I think as a pagan, you're kind of aware of that connection. You're aware of that web. And for the heathens among us, of course, they've got the web of weird. And that's a very apt metaphor, I think, at the moment, because we're connected by these invisible strings. And that's kind of what's keeping us going too, in that if you touch a string and give a friend a call or a message, they will hear you and they will pick up and they will listen. And we live at a time where that is possible, and that's a huge luxury. And again, I'm seeing people saying, I am so grateful for, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this technology. And when this is over, I will never again take such and such for granted. I will never again take going to a coffee shop for granted and just sitting and people watching. I will revel in the long distance run. I will enjoy going to the shops and having whatever I want laid out there. I can buy what I want. Because most of us reading? Yeah, okay. Reading my words. If I can get this subtitled, you will be. But those of you hearing me have got internet, so you're in a certain level of wealth. And we are very lucky to have that, of course. But to be able to have the money to go out and shop and to go out and enjoy our lives, we are starting to realise what matters. And we are realising what is true to us in our heads and in our hearts, and what we need to discern is true. And I think a lot of people are going to come out the other side of this, having been laid off by bosses who they're calling co-villains. People will come out realising and learning and having new experiences because of this time spent, I want to say spent in contemplation. We're not doing that, are we? We're not sitting around meditating. This is not a retreat. But we have this time. We really do. And even if we, I won't say don't use it well, even if we fiddle about with it, not exactly waste it, but spend it having fun, that's time well spent, I think. It's time doing the garden or decorating. I'm seeing that happening. playing games. There's a lot of board game stuff going on out there, and that's really fun to see. Up the road from our house, there's hopscotch boards painted on the pavement again, or chalked on the pavement, I should say. People are discovering what it's like to step outside when you really have to make the most of it. And I think that's making us realise how we took a lot of our paganism for granted, because we could just do it anytime, anywhere, oh, it would be fine. And I've not thought that for a long time, since a ritual in the woods one Samhain, where I sat with my fella for an hour in the rain, getting wetter and wetter, because the people who were coming for the ritual had stayed in the pub and were debating just not turning up. And they did turn up, and we gave them a flipping amazing ritual. But one of the questions we asked at that time was, where would you rather be than here and now? And someone said, I'd rather be in a nice warm pub. And essentially what they had just done is told the spirits of the forest that they'd rather be in a nice warm pub than in this wet woodland on a wild Samhain night. But that's where they were, so that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? This is that similar forcing of hand. This is making us sit and watch. It's the equivalent of the universe going, look, see what you've got, see what you have, see what you really want, see what you can cope with, see what helps you cope, see what helps fuel you and energize you. Discern your truth. And we're having to do that because we have no choice. And to finish up, in those lovely lists that are going around of what we think the gods are doing right now, like helping in hospitals and things like that, I did notice a heathen friend put up a really wonderful one for his deities. Let me see here. I have the iPad. Let's just see. Here we go. To summarise and give an example a bit, Odin stands behind the leaders, ordering isolation for the goods of the community, urging the scientists who seek the hidden knowledge and wisdom necessary to combat this violence. Violence? Well, okay, but virus is the word. And each god is given their task. And Loki? He knows full well the measure and use of chaos, even chaos he is not responsible for. He knows quite well how benefits and positive change can come from it, and he whispers in the ear of every new revolutionary, every newly awakened firebrand, do not waste this. That struck me. Do not waste this time. And I don't think spending time pondering what you're doing is waste. So, what are you doing? What can you do? What you need to do? What do you enjoy doing? I hope this has been helpful. I'm not having an easy time at the moment, but I am on private message. Comment, look on my website, Google me to find it. My name is unusual enough that it comes up. Get in touch. And it might take a little while to answer, but I will answer. And I've been listening to people's stories all week, and sometimes I can't say anything except, okay, I hear you. But I am here, and more often than not, I do get it, I do understand. And you're not alone. So, take care.